to our YouTube channel. Welcome to our third Being by the Numbers this year. We are doing another virtual one, and based off of some of the feedback we received from our first virtual meeting, I think going forward, even when we're back in person, can't wait to see everybody again, we'll probably do a live stream as well because we had some really good feedback. Hopefully today you guys have some lunch delivered or picked up from one of our fine Bloomington-Normal dining establishments, and you are just as caffeinated as I am, so we can get through all of these fun numbers. So first I want to thank our sponsors, Illinois State University. We'll be looking forward to getting back over in the Bone Student Center to do these in person again. Central Illinois Regional Airport had wonderful news with our new direct flights to Detroit, partnering with Rivian. That was great, that just came out. WGLT, Serban, B104, WBNQ, WJBC, The Bull, Cities 92.9, and Magic 99.5. Thank you very much to all of our sponsors. A little bit about myself, Patrick Hogan. I have these fun acronyms behind my name. I'm an economic development finance professional, graduate of the Economic Development Institute, the University of Oklahoma, certified economic developer, and of course I like numbers with the business analytics masters from Notre Dame. And yes, I'm a little upset that our game is getting postponed coming up. So sorry for the lame title for this one. We're going to really originally go for some kind of a workforce theme with this, but really it was getting back to the road to recovery. This is part 2 because we're still in the middle of it. And I did do a dad pun in there with be interrupted ? We'll soon find out how we're doing compared to everybody else. So same format as last time. We talked about what the overall impact of the numbers are, how we are reacting as community leaders, and then what we can do to adapt going forward. And with this one, we decided to go with a football theme, because why not? That's a little bit, somewhat feels normal to have football back again. I do have to say, though, as a Bears fan, it really pains me that Vince Lombardi of the Packers has like the best quotes out there. But I thought football would be good since it is back and it feels a little bit normal. So starting off with our impacts, we're going to go over employment, which is big for us, what the retail sales trending are, and also investment back in our community. And as we discussed before, whenever we look at employment trends, we take a look at 2 different data sets. One is local area unemployment statistics, and the other one is the current employment statistics. We do this by, taking in the whole MSA. The MSA itself is Bloomington MSA, which does include DeWitt, just so we all know that it is both of these counties, but that's the way that the feds have designated us, so this is the data for both. Now we're talking about the local area unemployment statistics. This is based on where you live, regardless of where you work, because there are a lot of our residents that do actually commute outside of Bloomington-Normal to work. So the data set we're looking at now are for those. So whenever we're looking at the number that everyone likes to pay attention to, which is the unemployment rate, on how we can really measure us against other communities, this is how it's calculated. So you've got your employed numbers plus your unemployed, which gives the labor force, and then unemployed divided by the labor force gets you the unemployment rate. For me, the big number out of here is really employment. As you can see, last time we talked, we had some really scary data because April had just came out and it had really dropped off from March to April. You'll see here that, like we discussed, from March to April, it dropped about 12,000. So now we're really starting to compare from March to July, where are we at? And so we went from being down about 12,000 to now we're down 4,000. It is good news, but we're actually still down 9,000 compared to last year. But trending-wise, we're trending in the right direction when it comes to our employment. Unemployment is also trending in the right direction. This is a number that we want to keep low. Currently, it's looking at about 7,000. We went from March to July, it's still up 4,800, and year over year, we're still up about 3,000. So we're getting better, but still not really where we want to be to get back to whatever this new normal is. Rate-wise, or sorry, not rate-wise yet, labor force. You can see that the labor force is actually getting a little bit closer to where we wanted to be. So that is rising accordingly, and that is a combination of both the employed and the unemployed. Whenever we do look at the rates, we started off the year phenomenal. So we were, always at the bottom with Champaign, Bloomington-Normal are always neck and neck, having low unemployment rates. And then of course, COVID hit and we really spiked. We are, starting to trend in the right direction whenever we do that math. I remember actually back in the day when 8% was a decent number, after the housing bubble. But now after COVID hit, current rates, Decatur has the highest, followed by Illinois' average, then Peoria, then Springfield, leaving Bloomington and Champaign hovering right around 8%. So it's heading down, getting back to somewhat normal. Now, the more important data for us that I like to look at is our current employment statistics. These are the jobs that are filled regardless of where you live. So this could be, anyone that lives here and works here, or someone that lives somewhere else and works here. But these are our businesses and the jobs that they are filling locally. Ideal situation, everybody that works here lives here. That's how you get the biggest boom for your economy. So that's where some of that attraction talk will come in later on. But for now, we're going to take a look at the people, the filled jobs that are in the area. So for here, you can see again, COVID hits in March. We had a major drop off. And it's starting to trend in the right direction, but we are still down whenever it comes to last year. That's sort of the trend that you start looking at year over year. Whenever we met last time, we talked about how we stacked up against everybody else, and we did it via industry. And from March to April, our goal is always to be below that Illinois average. So if you're below the average, you're doing better than most of the state. And so whenever we look at a total non-farm, we are below that. However, whenever I looked at the numbers from March to July to see how we're recovering, we jumped. And so that was a major cause of concern. We went from, being below Illinois, being 7th as far as job loss, to now we're 4th. I didn't really see that locally, so it was a little confusing. Also, I noticed that Champaign was number 1. It's like, how did Champaign end up being at the top of this list? It's really a cause for alarm. And this one, confusing chart, I stacked them side by side to see, how some of these people are recovering faster. So if you look towards the bottom, you're going to see the April numbers are very high, and some of these people are improving by 6%. And here's Bloomington and Champaign sitting at the top, and Champaign actually got worse from March to July. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, what do these have in common? How did Champaign get worse? And I can hear, people in the background yelling, universities, universities. If that's, something that you said, then you are correct. Because if you take a deeper dive into the industry by industry, March through July, government, which does have, that does account for Illinois State, it is July, so it's summer. So those numbers are where the losses were, followed by leisure and hospitality. We know that those definitely got hit on down. And you also see the opposite at the end. So you've got a major jump in mining and construction. I'm not aware of any major mining projects going on, but construction is definitely up, which leads us to believe that this is definitely seasonal. So knowing that it's seasonal, if we compare July last year to July this year, you're starting to see in this chart, these are what is happening due to COVID. So you've got leisure and hospitality at the top, professional business services. And then even at the bottom, though, we've got gains in, one of our largest clusters, financial activities. And this really tracks what had happened in April. So from there, we decided to map out how we compare to the rest of the state when it compared July 19 to July 20. And this makes a little bit more sense of what we saw earlier with some of Peoria, Decatur sitting at the top, who really got impacted by COVID compared to down at the bottom, people that definitely need to adjust for seasonality. So then I said, if we're looking at seasonality, why don't we take a look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics seasonally adjusted data? This is a data set where they actually adjust the data to flatten the curve to remove those seasonal trends for better comparisons. So if we look at, March to April for seasonally adjusted, that drop, we're 7th. And then if you look at from March until July, we drop all the way to 9th. So this is more or less, leave me in a better state of mind knowing that seasonally adjusted, our employment is definitely impacted by seasonality, and this helped me sleep a little bit better after putting these numbers together. And then overall, map them out seasonally adjusted to see the trends themselves. And now you can see that we are trending in a better direction overall. And I would project that I know that this afternoon, the way we have these times right now, the new data gets released. I can almost project that this is going to go up again in August. And this will continue as we recover. Next, we're going to look at the retail sales trends. Now that we know COVID's impact on the employments and the jobs, which translates to local spending. I got to be honest, when I saw this, it was a little shocking. So last time, we took a look, the orange bars are this year's, and we were holding steady at the beginning, first quarter, and then when April hit, we didn't get that spike that usually comes with your tax returns. May dropped a little bit as people are being a little bit precautious. June on the rise, but right now July somehow passed the last 2 years. So I want to take a deeper dive into this to see if there's any changes in the rates or if we really just loosened our wallets with the loosening of the restrictions. Like, was everybody just cooped up for so long that when it was time to finally get back out and about, we did and started spending like crazy? Or is there something else in this number? But either way, I mean, spending is back, so that's a good thing. So what I have noticed locally is the shifting in the dollars, from some of the sit-down restaurants to some of the hardware stores. I don't know about everybody else, but you can just drive through the parking lots and see the rise there. But spending's up. I just did not expect it to exceed the last 2 years. So we'll probably have to take a deeper dive into this to get a little bit more reasoning behind it. The next one is the investment itself. So this is businesses investing back, expansions going on, new businesses coming in. Permit-wise, we're definitely down for the number of projects, but that's totally being made up. We had already projected that we were going to exceed this by some of the projects in the pipeline. We have surpassed last year. So total investment in McLean County is out right now $178 million. Last year at 124. I see this continuing through October and November. Even though we would normally decline then due to the colder months, there's still more projects on the way. So as that goes, I think we're going to have a really good year when it comes to commercial investments and creating new jobs to the community. So now, I saw Peyton Manning speak one time at a conference. He is hilarious. But this is jumping into how we are going to react to this. And so you got all this data, which is great. And besides knowing that, Patrick can torture data until he can get it to say what he wants, and for some reason he's talking to third person, what are we going to do about this? So here's some of the things that we did, assessing it, coming up with different solutions, and implementing some of these in response to some of the data that we're finding. So assessment-wise, still continuing monitoring the state and federal assistance programs that are out there. The state programs, some of you are well aware, were a little challenging, to say the least. Federal programs seem to be a go and then not a go. So it's start and stop on a lot of those. We work with our lobbyists to keep an inside track on that and share when we can, working with some of our regional organizations such as IMA, ILEDA, and IEDC. Those are ones where we talk as one unified voice instead of one at a time to try to add input to that. Now, one of the tools, though, that hopefully everyone is aware of is the Business Interruption Grant Program, big grants. Round one, Bloomington-Normal did receive 29 of those. So with 29 of those being received that go around, if you notice in this line in here that there is a comma after a particular focus on businesses downstate. That means that there is money set aside in round two for us, and we need to take advantage of that. So help us spread the word about this round two of grants. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but we did meet with the state's, not representatives, but state staff that actually put this grant together as a regional group and just started asking them a ton of questions. And really the advantage goes to any business that's out there in Bloomington-Normal, McLean County, that did not get a PPP loan is probably going to get preference. So for more information on that, give us a call or head over to beingprepared.org. There's information on it and also on DCO's website. But we need everyone to apply for this because with that comma being after businesses downstate, there is an advantage for us this go around. Last time we also took a look forward at the impact of COVID going, like, what's it going to do to retail? What's it going to do to higher education? What's the future of office space? All of those from the trends and the experts that we were listening to really linked a lot of keys to the new normal, which is based around experience, culture, and quality of place. And for us, a lot of this led into the workforce side of things and how we can almost take advantage of some of the people that are working from home. Like if you have a job in Chicago and now you don't have to go to Chicago to work, is there an opportunity for Bloomington-Normal to start recruiting in workforce? Something that we had started before COVID hit was our workforce resource mapping project. And then of course, COVID put the kibosh on that. We did get it done. So we finally launched that back up, met with our partners at the Chamber of Commerce, CareerLink, Heartland Community College, United Way, got in a very large room. We wore our masks and we mapped out our current state. And so the idea of this workforce resource mapping was to say, what do each of our organizations and then others do for workforce, all aspects of workforce. And the end goal of this is to actually create this choose your own adventure infographic that will link employees to businesses. Because while the EDC doesn't work directly with employees or the underemployed or the unemployed, we do work with a lot of businesses, new businesses and our current businesses. And we need to be able to relay that information back to the organizations that work directly with those underemployed and employed. And so this was a way that we mapped out everyone's path through the system, where we're going to partner with Heartland Community College going forward, and then hopefully, like I said, have this infographic that'll show you if you're a business or if you are an employee, whether that is on a student level, a college student, an underemployed bartender, wherever you're at, where you can get into this workforce pipeline to get out on the other side for that final job. So the goal with this is just to get everyone mapped out on where we're at now, and then moving forward, we need to come up with our future state to figure out, okay, what pieces in the workforce development system are we missing so we can start either raising funds, working with partners to get to a full-blown workforce development system. But for now, we actually have assessed where we were at. So it's a wonderful exercise. Hopefully on the next Being by the Numbers, we'll have that final map produced and actually have our partners over at IMAC that led us through this talk about the process. We did have them in today on our podcast, so that'll be available, I believe, tomorrow, if you want to hear a little bit more about that process. So from there, we knew what some of the problems were. We did our assessments, and then we started to solve those. So as I mentioned earlier, we are getting back out, still social distancing, wearing our masks, of course, but on the advocacy side, the first couple of rounds of grants that came out were a little confusing from the state's level. So we were very happy to meet with some of the state staff to talk about how we can partner and hopefully review and offer insight as a Central Illinois region of economic developers on their programs when they come out. Because at the end of the day, the businesses call the economic development offices and their chambers of commerce to try to explain the grants that are coming out. And a lot of time we're learning just as they are. So partnering going forward with the state on designing some of those programs, I think is going to be key because they're getting dollars in from the feds and then they're passing them down. But if we could work and partner to design better programs, it's going to help our community and the state as a whole. Getting more local on some of the incentives, because there were so many grants coming out. Originally, we had partnered with Chairman McIntyre, County Administrator Camille Rodriguez, the Community Development Corporation Board to convert our former revolving loan program into recovery loans, keyword being loans. So no one is really taking advantage of those. We did approve one loan, very happy to go out there and take them their check. But whenever there's so many grant programs out there or forgivable loans, we just have not seen the interest in our local revolving loan. So now with County Board's direction, we're getting a lot of feedback at possibly converting those into grants as well in order to fill the gaps for some of the people that are not getting some of these big grants that are coming through. So be on the lookout for that conversion as we evolve this incentive as well. The next thing that was put on hold again from COVID, where we did launch our first session, which was fantastic, but converting the BN Advantage, this wonderful document that was put in place into two separate things. So originally it was an economic development strategic plan that had a lot of subgroups underneath it. One of those being a marketing and branding campaign. So we've been partnering with our Chamber of Commerce, the CVB, Central Illinois Regional Airport, then also Connect Transit, getting all the marketing people in one room to find out, is there a way that we could take this, the great message that was behind here, all the branding, the website, revamp it all and use it to tell that story to, basically the romance side of things, as cheesy as that sounds. Like, we've got the data that can tell a business why they're going to be successful here, but we don't have all those stories that they can tell their workers or their new employees or prospective employees, or even some of the students that are here to stick around, about all the great things that are happening in Bloomington-Normal. And I think we found a way that we can do that now with your help, with testimonials, to have the romance side to go along with that data to complete the art and the science of the sale. And then the other side is the economic development strategic plan, which this was originally intended to be. It had 99 items. That was a very large to-do list. So we have pulled that back in-house, working with our economic development board. This in itself has been an extremely challenging process. Our board's doing a great job. We're doing it via Zoom. So it's not a traditional economic development plan where you would all get together in a large room like we did before with our resource mapping and hash out the ideas. There's a lot of pre-reading involved. There's a lot of pre-work involved, but we're getting there. We just got through our current states. Next week, we'll be meeting again to do the future states. And our goal is to pull in as much of the work that was done in Being Advantage, all those strategies, all 99 tactics, find out what we can prioritize and what we as a staff can accomplish. And then what we can accomplish, we have to go back out to the community and to our partners and say, hey guys, based off of our budget, based off of our staff's capacity, here's what we can get done. Here's what's left over. Who can help? How can we prioritize this? And also at our next being by the numbers, ideally, if it's done after our board meeting, we could have a budget in place for this going forward for 2021, an evolved economic development strategic plan, which we're really excited about. And the whole steps for that is, outlining where we are, which we just did, find out where we want to go, which is the next step. Then we're going to lay out all those strategies on how we want to get there. And then last but not least is how we're going to pay for it all. But I'm very excited to get this into place. This being a data-driven and metrics guy, once we've got this, we're going to be able to have that dashboard that shows, hopefully we are tracking with the priorities. Then next is the implementation. Like, we're actually out and about doing in-person VRE visits. We've had some wonderful visits, social distancing, of course, getting tours of plants, finding out where people are at, making sure that they are aware of the tools that are available, and gathering their feedback. So going forward, we know what tools to put into place or initiatives to prioritize and take back to our board in the strategic plan when it comes time to prioritize. If any of you out there, especially you bankers, if you know of any businesses that are on the verge or thinking about, one, either leaving, call us immediately, or expanding, we need to meet with them to find out, to make sure that they're aware that they know what tools are available, not just locally, statewide, but also when it comes to federal tools as well, because there's a lot of tools that are out there that we've got with our partners, and we want to make sure that nobody misses out. Another thing that we've done, this is a wonderful cleanup of the building on GE Road, is getting out there and doing site tours again. So Nick and I get out and about and go see all the available sites. And the key with this is making sure that all of our sites, the products that we sell, are inside our site selection system. Because if they're not inside the system, whenever we get those RFPs, which we're averaging close to one a week now, development's not slowing down. If the building or the site is not inside the system, it's not getting submitted. And if it's not getting submitted, then we're missing out on projects. So really, if you know anyone who's got a site that's not on our website, if you go to bnbiz.org, underneath sites and buildings, there's a whole database. If your site is not on there or your friend's site is not, let us know. We'll get out there, take some pictures, and make sure it is a part of the project management system. Also, we're out and about at site selection conferences, hard to believe. It's very strange. I went to one in northern Indiana. We did sit 6 feet apart, got a lot of trends going on when it comes to industrial. This was a pretty good conference. The big rise right now is distribution for sure, but then also rethinking data centers. Data centers used to be these really large national centers. Now they're starting to be smaller, more regional based, but then even, I don't want to call them micro data centers, but you're going to see them smaller units getting closer to cell phone towers, because as we all started working from home, as the kids went back to school, they crashed Zoom. There's so much more cloud computing needed, and that's why you're going to see more data centers on the rise. And one of the key components of that is water, which we've got, and power, which we've got a lot on. So I'm thinking we're going to see some more of these coming through. But it was a good conference, good to be back out and about, meet some site selectors, add them to our marketing list so they're well aware of things that are happening in Bloomington-Normal. Also, another thing that we launched is our Building BN podcast. And this is a way that we could help with that romance story, also help educate Bloomington-Normal residents and businesses, everything there is to know about economic development, and then create testimonials from that, because we can take our audio, convert it into text, create the text into newsletters, and kick those out to businesses, current and new, development professionals, current and new, but then also the talent in the long run. So all the segments that we have on our Building BN podcast are designed in such a way they can be broken up into those 3 target markets. So if they're not hearing the podcast, they can still get the text. And it's a really easy way for us to take a 1-hour meeting, record it, and create a lot of different content, which content is king when it comes to marketing. And it's always hard to sit around and think about it. But if you can just have a conversation, which we all do on a regular basis, this has been a great way for us to generate content. If any of you want to be on the podcast, we've got a project going on, get a hold of Nick here at the EDC, and we'll even come to you. As you can see here, we did this on a bus, so this is proof we can do it anywhere to get a recording down. And you can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. We use Anchor right now, but if you go on our Facebook page, you'll see all the links. Apple's a really popular one. And then now we're going to look at how we're going to adapt going forward. There's still a ton to do, but these are things that really, we're going to do a survey after this. I want you guys to consider going forward and offer us feedback because there's a lot to take in. So we're going to start off reflecting. Everything's looking up. I mean, honestly, if you look at the data that we had, like, are we really getting back to the new normal, like whatever that is? I don't know. I mean, it looks like that, but I'm waiting for the other shoe to fall right now after looking at this data because it looks pretty good. The assessment is same as last time. We're making some major rankings as far as being the place to be, especially post-COVID. So my big question after these outside assessments are, like, how do we capitalize on that? So if the data is heading in the right direction compared to a lot of the other metros in Illinois, we're on these national rankings. How do we capitalize on that momentum? We're all heading in the right direction. We've got our economic development strategic plan. You know, we're working on that right now. I really want to get your feedback. And I know we're not going to have time to do this on this webinar, but just knowing what you're seeing, other ideas that people are putting into place, we need to hash all this out so going forward that we can kickstart this flywheel and make sure that we are addressing all these objectives in this system. Because for us, like, we want that project management at the end of the day, but it really starts in the beginning. Like, we got to have the infrastructure. So getting those dollars back from DC for our new transfer center for Connect Transit, that's fantastic. We got to have beautiful neighborhoods that get the skilled workforce, because without that workforce, none of our current businesses are going to do well, and no future businesses will look at us. And it's got to wrap all the way around until we get right back to more investment. So for us, the goal, the next BN by the numbers, is to hopefully, I'm probably over-promising right now, but I want to have a strategic plan in place that we can report back to you, that workforce resource map that we can report back, then also hopefully the standardized incentives in place so that next year, 2021, we can hit the ground running with the plan, we can work that plan, and have a goal that we can start thinking forward about what the overall vision and brand of Bloomington-Normal is. And that's, I think, we're gonna have to wait so we can all get back together to do that. But in the meantime, we're gonna have this midterm strategy in place. And I'm really looking forward to it, because the feedback we've had from the board already is gonna create a wonderful document. So how you can help, I can't stress this enough, consumer confidence. We need those sales tax dollars to continue to rise. Wear your masks, practice best habits. If you want to be a part of this, get a hold of Becky. We have a whole lot of these posters up front. So take that pledge. You'll see some of the new banners, Uptown Normal, Downtown Bloomington, signs all over town. Great work by the CVB and the Chamber on getting that word out. But really, consumer confidence is what drives those retail sales. If you want us to come out and visit you, if you don't want us to come out and visit you, still happy to do it virtually, but we'd love to tour your plants, get a hold of Amber so we can get out there and find out what your needs are and how we can get you to grow locally. Also, as I mentioned earlier, if you have any available sites, we need to make sure they're in the system, or if you've updated anything to the sites, changed the prices, whatnot, let us know. And at any time, if you want to discuss strategy, we've got a little brainstorming session tonight, get a hold of me, because we're, like I said, we're always looking for ideas going forward on how we're going to, tackle this as it's ever changing post-COVID world. So at this point, I'm going to go through the Q&A, starting off on retail sales. Can your numbers tell the difference between local spending versus online spending? That is a great question. I was actually talking to one of our state senators today to see if that was broken down in there, in those numbers. I'm going to have to contact the state actually to get that answer, because that large jump made me wonder, is that all really local, or is that some of that coming back? There's got to be another report that shows where that online money is coming back from. But from what I know, that is the added on tax that is McLean County wide. That's why I'm pulling that one number. If that's included in there, I'm not aware, but we do need to find out. But also, many locally owned retailers are still suffering quite a bit. Yes, I completely agree with that. That's why we have to do the community confidence thing. That's why we're looking at converting those loans that we have at the county into grants to assist, and also why we really need as many retailers as possible that are out there. Tell your friends, apply for those big grants, and shop locally. I mean, that's the best that we can do right now. We're still monitoring the incentives as they come out statewide. Also federally, if there's more bills coming, and using being prepared to get people there. But it all comes down to confidence. Like, if we've got the funds coming in, if we're still employed, it's really coming down to where we're spending our dollars. So I understand the online, because it's so easy to shop from your phone, but you've got those mom and pops. So I think Small Business Saturday is coming up. We really need to see a surge in getting people back out locally. To what extent is place branding involved in the BN Advantage plan going forward? That is exactly why we need to do that visioning session next year. So the BN Advantage plan itself, which was done in 2015, is an economic development strategic plan. There is a marketing and branding section in it, which is why we have the banners and the website, and it was really built to tell the story. But still, whenever you say Bloomington-Normal, like, I'd ask everybody in here, what is your one word? What is your pitch? Like, if you had a developer, if you had Jeff Bezos, you were at some dinner party and somehow he was there, how would you describe Bloomington-Normal? And I dare to say right now, we would all have a different pitch. So that's why we need to come up with this visioning session sometime next year. The ideal situation would be doing it now. We've done it this summer, but there has to be a common brand for BN Advantage. If that remains the tagline, what is the pitch? What are our strengths? What will we do going forward? But that's why I think we need to partner up with our chamber, CVB, get everyone together, and find out sometime next year, what it is we're going to use going forward. In the meantime, it's going to be a way for us to share our stories, and maybe it evolves out of that once we hear all the best practices and great things to do in Bloomington-Normal. But yeah, right now, that's a hard one to answer. I can send you a copy of the BN Advantage document done 5 years ago of that section, but I'm not sure that that's truly defined. That is a very long one on this feedback. I wanted to know, I can break some of these numbers down even further. Also, yes, this is a huge reminder. There's 1 week left to respond to the census. Go to www.my2020census.gov. That is so vital to our economy, because a lot of the federal dollars and state dollars are all divvied up based on our population. So if we're not getting an accurate count, we're not getting our accurate share of dollars back. So if you know someone who hasn't done it, we need to get them on board as soon as possible. Which is the growing business in below-no? Right now, actually, manufacturing is taking off. There's a lot of ripple effect that is coming from Rivian. Manufacturing is huge across the board. We know a lot of smaller manufacturing projects going on as well. And then also another thing, it says employers can encourage employees to respond at work. Yes. So yeah, if you're out there, you have your employees, yeah, please take a little moment out of your day to get them to respond to that census. Doesn't take much time at all. It's a little short survey, but it means a ton to your community. If I don't see any other questions coming in, if you guys have follow-ups, feel free to give me an email, on the screen there, patrick@bnbiz.org, or give us a call. Love to talk about the future of Bloomington-Normal economic development. And if you want a copy of this slide deck, let us know. Other than that, we will post the recording on YouTube, and we look forward to working with you going forward. Have a great day.